They look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only like 11 people alive of the 200 and something crew, and the entire ship was rotting down to the waterline. That's destiny. That's will. That's striving. That's being a trailblazer and explorer. Going into space, mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty. It's incredible detail. Tuning into it. They want to shut in your mind talking about Justin Bieber.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
I have SammyTMafia here with me today. We are going to dive into some super interesting stuff. She was texting me before the stream, and she had a great idea for the direction that she wanted to go. As you know, she's super knowledgeable about the Idaho 4, amongst many other things. So I always get excited for the Thursday night streams. Last Thursday, and one of the reasons why we are on YouTube tonight is because the last live that Sammy was on, it was so glitched out when I downloaded it. It would have been a terrible viewing experience. And honestly, it was hard to even follow because it would lag, it would go backwards, so on and so forth. So you guys know I love the TikTok Hive. I'm sure there's some of you guys on YouTube right now watching here, but I also love the YouTube Hive as well. So with that being said, here is SammyTMafia.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I don't know how to slow down a chat. I know people keep saying slow down the chat. I am not one of the, I don't know how to do that.
I don't know how you can do that either. And if you are not trolling, I feel like that's like a thing that you do to mess with people that are on the stream, to mess the stream up. I've seen that happen where they're like, slow it down, can't hear you. And then you hear people just saying like, you guys can't hear me, you can't hear me. And it works. So
Yeah. I don't know. So I just am like, it says you can in the settings, but I don't think we should do that because I don't really know how, and I don't want to fuck this up. And we've already fucked up one start already. I'm like, are we the worst tech people on the?
I don't know. I've never had so many. Like, I want you guys to be able to have a great viewing experience, as I've talked about.
It says yes in the settings. You can slow it down individually, but like the YouTube settings or the StreamYard settings. And I'm not the one who started this, so I don't know.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like I don't even know how to do that. So
Okay.
I don't know. I don't get the delay. Okay, guys, whatever. Sammy and I apologize. That was a brutal intro with the technical difficulties. So please forgive me. Sammy, I'm sorry to you as well. That was not
No,
fun.
I
But
don't care.
we have some super exciting stuff to get into. I'm going to go into the Hive Mind finds. And then also, as a reminder, Mrs. Birdie crushed it with birdiebombshell.com. We got a handful of orders yesterday for some hoodies. I reached out to I got the dimensions and the pricing for a bumper sticker, and then a tumbler and a coffee mug were some things that I saw in the chat last night. So I'm working on those, but we just wanted to have something up for the merch.
I love the idea of a coffee mug and a tumbler. Who doesn't love a tumbler? I must have like 5 in my car that I'm like, shit, I got to get that out of there.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So I was trying to think of some phrases for a bumper sticker, and I could not think of anything. I don't know.
For a bumper sticker, I'd have to think about. Let me brainstorm.
Yes. And while you do that, because this intro took a little bit longer than normal, I'm going to go on to the Hive Mind finds. As a reminder, it's birdiebombshell00@gmail.com. If you guys have something interesting, not just in regards to the Idaho case, but any case or conspiracy or just contrarian thought process about something, any narrative, whatever it may be, please feel free to send it my way. I was showing Sammy T this backstage, and both of us were kind of like, that's weird. So if you remember, and actually let me get out of the full screen here so that I can make this bigger for you guys. So this is a news article when Brian Koberger and his father were traveling through Indiana. I pulled 2 news snippets here, and it says on December 15th, around 10:40 a.m. EST, a deputy with the Hancock County Sheriff's Office pulled a white Hyundai Elantra on I-70 in Indiana. Officials said the Hyundai was pulled over just east of the rest park near the 107th mile marker. Only a few minutes after being let go by the deputy, notice this part, only a few minutes after being let go by the deputy, Koberger was pulled over again around 10:50. So we have 10:40 and we have 10:50. Keep that in mind. On I-70. This time by an Indiana state trooper in an exchange that was also captured by body cam. Officials said Koberger was once again following a vehicle too closely. So we've obviously all seen this body cam footage. Well, somebody in the Hive pointed this out. Now, this image here is from the first time that he got pulled over. Okay. Notice the time. The article is right. It says 10:42, right? But you go over here, and remember how they said it was only a couple minutes later? This shows 3:20. So I would just be curious if that's a mistake. I highly doubt it that Motorola police body cams would be malfunctioning on a traffic stop, or I don't understand how or why that would be a thing. So 3:50 p.m., 10:42 a.m., yet it says, actually, I can just pull up the article so you guys can see it too. It says that right here on December 15th, around 10:40 EST. And then it says again, you guys can't see that.
Even if it goes from one time zone to the next, like if you're going from, but that wouldn't be, even if it was 7 minutes, like it would only be an hour off.
That's what I'm saying. So it said 1040, 1050, and it uses only a few minutes after. Yes, but guys, we're talking hours. We're talking almost 5 hours difference. Do you guys get what I'm saying? So the first video when his car is dirty, 1042. I thought that was really wild.
Right. Like, and then all the articles, see, it'd be one thing if it was just one article, but all the articles say within minutes.
Yes. So somebody said the minutes wouldn't change. Let me re-explain myself if I haven't made this clear. Brian Koberger was pulled over twice traveling on his way home with his father while in Indiana, both for the same offense, which was following a car too closely. So this is the first traffic stop.
I will also say, because I looked into this when this first happened, like that major highway is a corridor for trafficking. So a lot of times out of state plates is a way for them to kind of want to know what this person's doing on the highway. And so cops will use the excuse of you're following too close, this and that, just to see if you have anything in the car, who's driving the car, an excuse. I mean, we've all been there. So
Yep.
That is a major highway stoppage for trafficking too.
Yes. Yeah. I would be curious. Like I've never noticed that. I never noticed that. I don't know what the motivation would be for lying about 5 hours and why they would say he still wasn't pulled over twice for the same thing while going in Indiana.
And do you remember when this first happened? They said, oh, look, they had him under surveillance this whole time. Like they made it seem like this was all planned out. Remember, that was the beginning narrative when this all happened, when he was first followed and these body cam footage was being shown on like Fox News or News Nation or whatever. They made it seem like this was on purpose and the FBI was tailing him and telling local police what to do. We're still not really clear what the direction was for this.
No, not at all. Again, that's the whole point of the Hive Mind finds. Maybe there's an explanation for it, but it's like, regardless, I've never noticed it. And it is interesting. Like, as you saw, like in the multiple news articles, and somebody even said, even Koberger himself said he was just pulled over a little bit ago. Did somebody maybe interpret that? Like if you're on a road trip cross country, I feel like a little bit ago, it could be a couple hours, maybe.
Also, I don't understand how, like I said, they made it seem like this was pre-planned and that they had eyes on him, right? So this was all part of the plan. And when people were reporting the story, like credible news outlets all over were reporting it, like, look at, they had their eyes on him. Like this was some well thought out stop, both of them, to keep their eyes on him. My head, the entire time I was thinking, why wouldn't they just bring him in for questioning? If they thought this was the guy that did this, they let him drive across the fucking country?
Dude, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I've said that too. I'm like, if you even had an inkling that somebody just murdered 4 people, what are you doing? You're letting him flee with a parrot who's got resources to keep, not like resources. I mean, he could use his license. He could use his debit card. He could go completely under the radar traveling with, somebody that's in his family that he could probably trust. And I don't get it. But Phoenix did bring up a good point.
Followed him all this way. And then you're just going to say, all right, be on your way. Let me pull you over in another 10 minutes or 3 hours, whatever. Yeah.
Well, the chat, the Hive Mind is saying it. That means it, quote unquote, to become federal. You cross state lines.
But they were already having law enforcement partnerships. So I guess for federal charges. Yes. Right. But they did partner with them without that. So before they even knew, they were in partnership with the FBI. They actually had more FBI in. Sorry, my daughter's coming in and telling me I'm too loud. So nice. Thank you. The FBI, they had around, when this started, it was 60 something, then it went to 40 something, and they always had way more FBI agents than, local law enforcement and state law enforcement. I still want to see those behavioral unit reports when they have the two behavioral analysts who wanted to say, like, when they looked at the crime, when they looked at everything surrounding it, what was their evaluation for who could have done something like this? Because that's their job. Their job is to go in there, and we've all seen those shows where you're looking at a crime scene and what does it say to you? What does it say about that person? And if I had to take a wild guess, considering the door was left open, all the doors inside were left open, the dog was on the top floor, I'd say reckless.
Yeah, I would say reckless. And if you go back and you watch the initial press conference that the police and then the university president had, even the reporters are starting to say, so you're telling us that the community isn't at risk, but in the same breath, you're telling us you're taking in all of these tips and you're going to vet absolutely everything and to keep your head on a swivel pretty much. And people are like, how do you know it was a single perpetrator? Well, then they just fall back onto, this is an active investigation. We can't tell you what we know. It's just, I hate that part.
I just like how they were so overwhelmed with the tips. So that's why the federal law enforcement got involved, because, they have systems, guys. They have systems. They can date stamp everything. They can organize everything. They can make sure that the top tips go to the top and everything's, above bar, above and beyond. Their systems are incredible. So we brought the FBI in. So they're handling that system. Then Ann Taylor's like, can I have those tips? And she basically got a dumpster fire poured on her lap, no organization, no date stamps, nothing, just thousands of recordings, ad hoc, no dates, no times. She's like, where is this? What happened?
Right. And I feel like Ann Taylor, her dinner is probably Advil and wine after these hearings, because I've just, at least in the beginning, I feel like she didn't get a break pretty much from anybody, and she stayed relatively calm until she had to kind of really emphasize it. But I think she has done a really good job at almost the chess strategy of waiting till the last minute. And
she has to now, especially with the leaks. She has to.
What is your thought? So, Sammy, can you remind me and then also remind the chat, because I brought this up in a random TikTok post. Are you a paralegal? I think I asked you that last time. Or were you at some point?
I was, yes.
Okay. I didn't know if you were still currently one or...
No, I went and I work for the county for welfare fraud investigations, because the benefits are better when you work for a state or a county.
Okay.
And they give you more time off and paid lunch and retirement and all that good stuff. Government job, union job. What can I say?
Nice. But clearly you are familiar then, at least with the legal wording.
Yeah.
Which is good. Because that's sometimes what takes the longest, is understanding the legal meaning of it.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't like the legal reasoning of Hitler, but Ann Taylor, this one, people are losing their minds because they think that he's not going to accept the alternate perp theory. And I'm like, guys, she submitted it under seal, meaning we're not going to know right now. But the reason why she waited and submitted it under seal is because of the leaks. Because God forbid that disgusting state got the information and leaked it to, I don't know, drunk turkey. Like, honestly.
Yeah. Do you ever think that the prosecution purposefully leaked it to weaken their case so that it didn't go to, not that it wouldn't go to trial, but it could be the scapegoat is the leaks. Well, it's unfortunate that the leaks happened and yada, yada, yada. And then just say he got off with some technicality, even though
Well, I think that this is going to possibly take the death penalty off the table because of the prejudicial nature of it. And I think it's a bargaining chip. If you want to have the trial when you want to have the trial, then you better take that death penalty off. That's what I think is going to happen if I had to take a wild guess. So if you want this trial to happen on time before you figure out all your bullshit, I'm going to submit everything under seal to the judge. You can do your, special prosecutor investigation in the meantime, in the interim, but I want the death penalty taken off the table is what I think might happen.
This might be a stupid question, but does under seal mean the only eyes on it is the judge, or does the prosecution also see it?
Well, I think certain people in the prosecution.
Okay.
But not
Not
the entire office.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, because sometimes I wonder.
Go
ahead.
I believe the judge sees it first.
Yeah, well, I would hope so. I wonder if Hitler's sitting back in his chair right now, and he's just like, "God damn it, they Koberger didn't do it." You know what I mean?
I think for a long time, when he first got this case, he wasn't thrilled, if you remember. He was not happy that this ended up in his court. And I did a little bio on him, and he doesn't really deal with capital murder all that much. So I don't think he was very thrilled with this, to be honest. And now as time has gone on, these leaks have happened, and he's not happy about that at all. And he knows they're not coming from the defense. He knows about Stephen Colvez running to every fucking show in America. And I do think that he's irritated, and in that irritation started looking at stuff more. And the more that the defense is giving to him, especially under seal, I think the timeline's probably bothering him. Like, if I had to take a wild guess, think about how many details we've been soaking this up for years. Hitler hasn't. So you're just trying to deal with the logistics as a judge. You're trying to, he had to do 22 motions in limine one day. It was like a marathon. I mean, that is a lot. That is a lot to deal with. So the organization of taking any of this in has to be just stressful, in my opinion. I mean, you're a judge. This is what you signed up to do. So, you can't complain. But I will say, that's a lot of time for you not to be on a case and a lot of things to be going back and forth before you get it. So he didn't have a good grasp on what was already done in this case. He didn't read it all. How could you? We expect them to know it like this, and they don't. Mm-hmm. And I think now that he's had some time, probably did some reading, I think he probably is like, how is this? All right, I'll fuck with this a little bit more. Yeah.
I mean, I'd be curious as far as like if the prosecution had to, let's say like the entire prosecution team had to take a lie detector test, and the question was simple. Do you think you got the right guy? I would just be so curious to see like what that would say. Well, so to put a bow on that and to talk about the Hive Mind fines, that was a really good one. With that technical difficulty, I took 2 out just so that we could jump into it, because Sammy and I have a handful of articles to go over. And so, Sammy, why don't you explain how you envision this going, kind of how you were texting me so that the chat understands what it is we're diving into.
So every week we come up with ideas what we're going to talk about. And I said, what if we talk about peripheral players? And Birdie's like, what do you mean? And I said, it's articles and people who decided to speak, either whether it be in the beginning anonymously or eventually giving their names, like an Ashlyn Couch, a Jack S, DM's stepmom, Ashlyn Couch's stepmom, Eric Gower, Joe Vito, stuff like that. These people who are on the periphery of this crime, who have all given interviews, made statements, either right in the beginning or maybe sometime after, a year after, 2 years after. And as you're going through some of the things that they've said in these articles, now that more documentation is out through the courts, through the defense and the state, and the documents that they have, whether it be the roommate's text messages or anything else, some of these things, when you go back to them, you're thinking, how the hell did they clear this person so fast?
Not only how did they clear them so fast, to also willingly put yourself out there. Like I would be curious, like, none of these people, like, take Joe, for example, very, very scrutinized on the food truck, right? His TikTok, his explanation, I would argue, is like super sus as well. And I'd just be curious, you are in the middle of the highest profile murder case going on in the country. You don't have a lawyer. None of these people have lawyers. They're just doing it off TikTok or off a webcam.
Well, they don't need lawyers, because if you notice in these articles, oh, they're cleared. The second anybody was scrutinized on social media, the press would put out something and they'd say they were cleared. And so especially Eric Gower is the one that bothers me the most, the driver, because just so much of these articles that he gives, and there's multiple over spaces of time that he gives. At first, he didn't want to be known. He wants to remain anonymous, okay? And he's like, I was the last person to see them, and just doesn't mention that, oh, and by the way, the roommate that survived, I got a text from her about 10 minutes after I dropped them off. Nope, never comes up. The way that they cleared him was through a fucking Taco Bell receipt, which, by the way, that was when the first time when they said the crimes happened during that period of time. They subsequently changed the time frame, and yet he was never brought back in for questioning. So wait a minute, you cleared him on a fucking Taco Bell receipt, and then you never bothered? Oh, we changed the times of the crime. Do you think you might want to bring back that guy who you cleared off of a goddamn Taco Bell receipt?
So we have an alibi of stargazing and an alibi of a cheesy gordita crunch. That is what the death penalty apparently could have gone one way or the other. It makes no sense.
Oh, it's just like, oh, wait a minute. This is how they clear. They never brought him back in. And he was so affected that he took off of work a week. And I'm like,
oh, he's like on the run for a week.
So like on the mend? Like, what?
So do you think you want to start with his articles that he comes up in?
For sure.
Okay. Oh, let me get out of presentation mode. All right, so this should be relatively easy now because the full screen is shared.
I was thinking, Bertie, you know who was his alibi? The Taco Bell Chihuahua, Yokiro Taco Bell. Remember those commercials in the early 2000s? Yeah.
Those are the best.
Yokiro
that was when
Taco Bell. Oh, that's when commercials were fun, and they used to have that that insult triumph, the insult comic dog too at the time. It was like all in one. It was so great. I miss when commercials were like super edgy, like during the Super Bowl. Oh my god, those are the best.
Yeah. So anyways, the next couple articles that we're going to go over are about the driver that, when you hear in the docs, if you're not super familiar with the case or if you're just tuning in, welcome to the Hive. We're talking about the Idaho 4. This article and the next two are about the private driver that drove Kaylee and Maddie home after you see them on the Grub Truck Twitch stream. So I'm just going to kind of skim this, and then Sammy, if you need to stop me if you hear anything, but I think we'll probably get to a certain point in the article that you can chime in. So the private driver who dropped Kaylee and Maddie off at their home near the University of Idaho campus just hours before they were stabbed to death in the early mornings of November 13th, 2022, is quote unquote exceptionally glad. I bet he is that an arrest has been made. It tells Law and Crime that he actually saw the white Honda Elantra police were looking for last month. That first article. Oh, you don't say.
You don't say, what a fucking coincidence. What a coincidence. So happy. You're fucking maverick. It's you and all your mothers, you and the deputies who did it, who were just, stopping him for driving too close to whatever semi down the freeway. Fuck. God.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm exceptionally glad an arrest been made, and I was the last person to see them alive, and I actually saw the white Hyundai Elantra too.
Yeah, the one article title in 2023 was "He lived 1,200 feet from my door." Driver who brought Idaho victims home that night, they were killed, is exceptionally glad about the suspect's arrest. Like, what?
Right,
What?
exactly. Sorry, I got to share this window here. There you guys go. So here's what we were laughing at, chat. Let me just put this back up. It was right here. So this is the article. This is the article.
So we're so glad.
Yep. And the first paragraph says this. I mean, Jesus.
I'm sure you're glad.
Yeah. So it goes on to say, the man who did not want his name used read the affidavit charging Brian Koberger, 28, with felony burglary and 4 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Goncalves, Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. My question is, when was this article written? January 6, 2023.
Yeah,
Okay.
so why wouldn't you want your name? You're the hero, bro. You live 1,200 feet from him. Like, it's so weird to me that you want to be in the press, but you don't want your name mentioned. Why is that?
Somebody also said that they just saw in the comments that he is now separated from his wife.
What a surprise.
I mean, that.
I bet she's like, where the fuck were you? Could you imagine? Could you imagine, like, the wife, like, if he came home and this happened and then he's like, I think I'm taking off a week. What?
Okay, this is, I want to see, I want to try something here.
I want to be that wife so bad when he got home. Where were you? Who's Dylan?
Then you see the headlines. You just go from like, oh.
I would be like a maniac. I'd be like, just digging. I'd be like, you have 5 seconds to show me every fucking message in your phone, in your iCloud. I want to see everything you did that night. I am not buying your Taco Bell receipt bullshit. You can fool MPD all you want. Chief Fry's a fucking huckster. Give me that. Give me more.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. It goes on to say that, so there's a quote. I won't read the whole thing. I'll just read the quotes. He says, I was surprised, but exceptionally glad that some form of resolution is forming, the private driver said. I feel exceptionally bad for those parents in our community. It's an odd choice of exceptionally. He said it 3 times in this article already. It's not an odd choice. I guess it's an odd amount of times to use that word.
Yes.
He was somewhat stunned to learn that Koberger. I bet he was stunned.
He's not stunned. He's not stunned. He's not stunned. You live 1,200 feet away from him. You were tracking Elantras in the parking lot. Fuck off. You're not stunned.
Yeah. So the driver spends much of his days shuttling people around town. So after the killings, he kept an eye out for the white Hyundai Elantra.
Oh,
he eventually spotted it at Koberger's apartment building sometime after December 7th.
Okay, so tell wait. So you spot that Elantra. You live 1,200 feet away from him. Don't tell me that you didn't sit out in your car in your parking lot to wait and see who got in that Elantra. Don't tell me. Don't tell me you're surprised. That's a bunch of BS. You waited, you watched, you saw him get in the car, you saw him get out of the car, you saw what door he was going to. Stop it. You weren't surprised.
Yep. Well, and then he goes, I thought it was too new, he said of the car, since Moscow police had asked the public for information about a 2011 to 2013. However, he wrote down the car's Washington state license plate number and submitted a list of 13 or 14 Hyundai Elantras he had spotted sometime around December 10th through the Moscow PD tip line.
Now that's interesting because, as we know, how Ann Taylor got these tips ad hoc. I'd like to know, since he submitted those 13 to 14 Hyundai Elantras that match the original description, I'd like to see what they did with that. Did they run their plates? Did they see what they were doing that evening? Where are their tower downloads? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where are their virtual shitty Google Map outlines? And were their phones on during that time? Oh, they were off. Must be a murderer.
Yeah, I agree. And he goes, the driver says the affidavit confirmed what he suspected about the crime. Some of the most chilling details include the revelation that a camera from a home less than 50 feet from Kernodle's bedroom recorded what sounded like a whimper and a loud thud. Police have previously said some of the victims had defensive wounds, and Kernodle's father told a news outlet in Arizona that she had fought her attacker, which, by the way, what was up with them saying she was from Arizona?
I don't
in the
know.
beginning. Oh,
I think maybe the dad lives there.
maybe. Okay.
No, I don't know because I don't know.
I thought she was from.
If you guys know in the chat, let me know.
So, okay.
Oh, she was? Okay, so she's from Arizona.
Okay. All right. I suspected from everything that I read that whatever happened in that house was exceptionally violent.
Another exceptionally.
Yeah. Far beyond what a scorned lover would do in regard to the sheer violence. What?
Okay. Who are you covering for?
That's
far beyond what have you ever watched the ID channel, bro? Far your wife's a cop. The most violent things are people, domestic violence is so prevalent, especially after this is right after the pandemic. People were beating the living shit out of each other. People couldn't get divorced fast enough.
Right.
I'm saying that is a strange statement. What do you think that's misdirection with all your exceptionals?
I don't know. I to be honest, I don't know how to take it because sometimes I'm like, does it just sound weird because nothing adds up? And like, if it did add up, then it wouldn't be weird. You know what I mean?
Well, what?
But it does sound weird though. It does. It does sound weird.
Of course, it would be it would be a knife attack is personal. A shooting is impersonal. A knife attack is personal. So to say that and far beyond a lover scorned, like, what are you saying? Who are you trying to throw the scent off of, or what does this mean? I wish somebody did good journalism at News Nation and said, can you elaborate on that? Yeah. No follow-up? No fucking follow-up?
I think that's the end of the. Oh, there was one more quote. It says, they were all nice girls. They were always polite with me. They were happy, friendly girls. In my opinion, there was nothing bad about them. He said they were all good employees at Mad Greek. He added, referring to a downtown Moscow restaurant. I'm hoping they have an ironclad case, the driver said. I desperately hope they have
desperately hope. It's a double desperately.
If they let this guy walk, it's a shame. Okay, guys, this is so weird.
Why? What? Oh, would you like a follow-up? Oh, so you think that they might let him walk? No follow-up, News Nation? Oh, you know them from the Mad Greek as good employees? How many times did you frequent that restaurant? How often did you go in and sit at their tables to know that? Were you friends with the owners? Like, come on.
I agree. And, you know, a couple people in the chat were saying like he wants, the 10 minutes of fame. I don't disagree that people will do that. But do you really want the 10 minutes of fame to put yourself in a light where it's like every little thing is about to be picked apart?
I just think it's weird. And then the thing where, so this one where they said like he was cleared over a Taco Bell receipt. I just was like, how is this possible? Like, they're not going to bring him in anymore. That's it. Like, when that didn't add up, like nobody wanted to bring him in. I just thought that was really weird.
I think this is
and then he's like, I picked them up around 1:40, 1:45. So that's a 5-minute difference. And then you could tell from the grub truck when they left. So that's not necessarily true. They had their food, which, do you remember them leaving with their food? I was going to ask you that.
Well,
they walked away with their food, right? But they got a text. Kaylee got a text. Now, she was on her phone an awful lot at that grub truck. Like, she was glued to that phone. Yep. I don't know why, but she was glued to the phone. They were not, like Joe Vito said, stealing people's food. They weren't more hammered than anybody else in that vicinity. Like, they were right on par for everybody else at that grub truck, in my opinion. Their behavior looked like everybody else's behavior, maybe even somewhat less inebriated, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I got a screenshot where when Joe was saying she's trying to grab everybody's food, you can see both of the girls smiling, almost like they're recording, where she was like, give me all the food. Like, she's clearly joking. Then they go look at the phone, they see the video, and then they get their food and they go home. Like, it's very obvious she wasn't climbing in the truck, and they didn't have to get out of there. They didn't need to go to bed. It's also, they could be off their ass hammered. Way worse than that. They are, as everybody wants to defend some of the quote unquote survivors, they're just drunk college girls, right? They're just having fun out in public. They had a private driver home. They weren't getting behind the wheel, and they got food after they left the bar. What they didn't do is apparently see a killer and not call 911 for 8 hours.
No, instead they called Jack D 20 times.
Right.
A piece, like 10 for her and a few more for and a few for Maddie, which I found weird too, by the way, is that Maddie's last phone call was, I believe, Jack D. It was like a couple minutes after Kaylee's last phone call to Jack D. So they were both calling him bing, 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 bing at some point. And I always thought that was odd. Like, so you think he's not answering Kaylee, so she starts dialing him, but this is right after, and then they're going to be, homicided in a matter of minutes. So it's like, I don't know. It's just that to me is a little odd. The driver, by the way, so he said there was no apprehension, no weird feelings there, no upsetness. There was no nervousness about them. They weren't afraid of anybody. There was nobody following them or us. There was absolutely nothing about that ride that was different or abnormal. They were just typical sorority girls talking away half the time. They don't pay attention to a whole lot of us drivers. We're just kind of doing our thing. He said he didn't pull right up to the door, stopping instead on the front street. And he says it's because of, you hear about people getting carjacked. Like, where are they doing carjackings in Moscow? I mean, I know that there was cars broken into, but then he also says in the same article that it's a safe area. So which is it? Is it, give me a ride or safe area? I don't even have to look at them go to the door.
I agree.
Like, which is it?
Well, that's like, it just seems, what do a lot of these quote unquote peripheral people, as you coined it, have in common? A lot of their interviews are a bunch of word salad. They're a bunch of word salad where it's like, hang on, so you're saying this, but then you're saying that, and then you're saying this, and then you're saying that, and it leads people to do exactly what we are doing now. And quick side note, do you know if this is the interview? Sammy, do you remember?
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm gonna see. Well, I'll let this ad play. But yeah,
the people need to know what was on the Taco Bell receipt. I 100% agree. Post the fucking receipt.
Yeah.
Your wife asked you for it. Maybe that's why she left. That is not, I know that's your favorite order. Who are you picking up for? Yourself, you fat ass? Give me those messages now. I'll take care of this baby by myself. Fuck you.
Oh my God. I mean, those type of conversations probably aren't realistic or
Now,
aren't unrealistic.
I live in Buffalo, so like if you want like there's authentic Mexican food and stuff, but I like, you know, the shitty like McDonald's like Mexican food. In Buffalo, it's Mighty Taco. Nobody eats at Taco Bell. It's Mighty Taco all the way. If you're from here, you know what this is. Mighty Taco is amazing. I don't know if anybody's ever had it in the chat, but man, I used to get so stoned in college and be like, let's go. Nachos deluxe, beef and cheese burritos, chicken fajita, sour cream. Favorite.
Yes, I agree. I think that some of those like low key spots, even like some food trucks, no pun intended, just because we're like obviously we're talking about that, but I agree a lot.
Oh no, your volume cut out.
Yeah.
There you go.
It should be back. You can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thank God. I was starting to sweat there because if that would have happened right now.
Can the chat hear you guys?
Yeah, they can hear me. If you can hear me, they can hear me.
Okay, good.
So have you also noticed, as I just started skimming this article, this is yet another person that is saying that they were there to look out for these girls. Like, hang on, hear me out. Jack S was keeping an eye on them.
Mm-hmm.
Joe said, yeah, I just wanted to make sure they got home safe. I feel bad. I should have actually done more. Now the driver's saying it was his job to keep them safe. Have you guys started to notice a little bit of a trend with these people who are around them all saying they should have done more to keep them safe? Yet none of them outside of Jack S have that type of, I would guess, a friendship where you would probably feel, I guess, encouraged to keep them safe, if that makes sense.
Like the first article that came out about Eric Gower, he said he didn't really know them. And then as time went on, then he said things about like, you know, like they're great employees at the Mad Greek. Like, wait, what? I thought you didn't know them. And then it came out, oh, and I'm good friends with the Gonsalveses. Was it after that they talked to you first before you talked to police? Like, that's the part that gets me is if Alvia was cold calling, right? So the sister had Kaylee's iCloud. So she knew who Kaylee was talking to in the last moments up until she was alive. So she was just cold calling people and she got a hold of the driver. Then the story evolved that, oh, he's a good guy. He's a good guy, meaning like, and then it became, oh, he's a good friend of the family. Okay, since when? But in the beginning, he said, I barely knew them. Okay. Now you know they're good employees. You're good friends with the Gonsalveses. You talked to them first before you went to the police. You took off a week of work. But like you said, that's right. They all inserted themselves as watchers. And let me tell you something. If they were all intoxicated, inebriated, just on a night out having fun, and they didn't know this was going to happen, you guys are paying an awful close attention. Everything that happened in that car. They didn't seem afraid. They weren't talking about Adam, Joe Vito. They're grabbing food. They're stealing food. They were very intoxicated. I just wanted to make sure they got home okay. That's an awful lot of attention to some two random girls that you didn't have any clue what was going to happen to them. Don't you think?
I do think. And they're also, I don't know. I think they're all putting themselves in front of the media. They're all saying that their job is to keep them safe. A lot of their behavior is sus. So I think, Sammy, the common theme with these, with now Jack S and the private driver, I would say there's an article in here that talks about, well, he was arrested on November 3rd for disturbing the peace. While the charges appear unrelated, Showalter was seen in food truck live stream footage near Kaylee and Maddie the night of the Idaho State University students were brutally murdered. there was a part in this article. It was saying something about, we'll find it in one of these three, but how he was already cleared. You know, the internet has been brutal, and like he's saying all this stuff, and I'm like, well, I guess, is it surprising? Like, I actually think about that. Would you be surprised if this happened and you really had nothing to do with it? Wouldn't you be like shitting your pants? Like, oh my God, I was last seen walking with them.
I would have explained myself to death if there was
Yes.
nothing wrong.
Right.
Because of how things could seem. But also the way that the police handled this by clearing people and not explaining how they were cleared, especially when the times of the crime changed, you know. Read that.
I was going to say, this is my favorite thing. Whenever I see this sentence here in an article, my ears perk up a little bit more. Okay, so here's what it says. Multiple reports say police spoke with Showalter and cleared him of any involvement in the shocking ISU murders that rocked the nation. But unfounded online conspiracy theories have persisted that Kohberger is innocent and Showalter, among other potential suspects, could be guilty.
First of all, we live in America. You're a journalist. He is innocent until proven guilty. That's our judicial system. Where do you live? What justice system do you fucking live under, bro?
Well, people forget that last night, one of the things that I said too is they're coining the term pro-burgers, which is really, you're coining innocent until proven guilty. That's really what you're doing.
I just can't believe that Showalter, because the fucking amazing cops who don't know how to use gloves and booties and logs and log tips correctly, they cleared him. He's good. He's good. We don't know how he's good, but he's fine. He did his thing. So he's all right. But Kohberger, who turned his phone off, and we still have yet to place him in the house, yet to find a connection with any of these fucking people. We're conspiracy theorists and he's guilty. It's a conspiracy that he's innocent. Are you fucking kidding me?
So it goes on to say, moreover, debunked rumors spread online that Showalter left Moscow late that same night and then flew to Africa, but there are no official sources of information to verify if that's true. And those two stories...
How can't they verify it's true? You guys have an army of people who could look into these flight logs to ask things. You have information that we can't get. That's why you're a fucking news outlet and we aren't. Go and find out if he flew to Africa or not. Go do that. Instead of fucking just saying there's unsubstantiated sources, go fucking dig a story instead of sitting at a computer like us and writing this bullshit.
Right. So this tweet is what they referenced. It said, rumors circulated that Jack Showalter drove 5 hours to his parents' cabin and immediately flew to Africa. This was debunked, I believe, but I wonder what his true alibi was to clear him, which is a great question. So, okay, if it wasn't that, well, then what is it?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And I mean, I've gone on a couple tangents about the news and just like, it's not investigative anymore.
No, I mean...
You have the ex-roommate's mom up here. I've said this, but it just one of the things that right away, like Mrs. Birdie and I, we just like looked at each other like, oh, here we go. This is not going to be investigative by Dateline. It's going to be emotional heartstrings, because the episode or the docuseries or documentary, sorry, it started with her getting asked by Keith, so why do they do this? And she just looks at him, because they're beautiful. And I'm just like,
oh,
okay, hang on. Let's back up. What does that mean? This guy just killed them because he's beautiful? Or is that just because the media has told us that he doesn't have any friends, because that in that same documentary, guess what? He's getting girls' phone numbers. He's talking to other people. He's
Right.
trying to meet friends. Like
it was a convoluted. It's because they don't have a motive and a connection. So this entire process of, because they're beautiful, because he's jealous, because he's awkward, because he was a drug addict, they are pulling on any string. And so to add fuel to the motive that they see, where they have on psychologists who have never met Brian Koberger and diagnosing him, or they have this roommate's mother coming on, the roommate's mother, who, by the way, was pretty quiet for a long fucking time until she felt perfectly camera ready to come out some year and change later. That's a little weird too, by the way. What's up with that whole living situation? I don't know. Her name's on the lease. Did she live there? Did she not live there? Kaylee left early. Her name's on the lease. The whole thing. I need more. I need more on explanation on how were you roommates with them? What's up?
well, and this too.
Like, it's
She
all
was
to
planning
drive.
to
It's
hang
all
out.
to drive a narrative of giving a motive when there isn't one. So they're pretty. They're pretty.
There's
Okay.
probably a lot of pretty girls there. It's probably pretty, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I don't know. It's just, to me, like, it was more on Dateline, also just seemingly they set the tone with every person that they interviewed. They set the tone to, yeah.
Isn't it weird that he knows they're pretty, but he wasn't friends with any of them on social media, like, ever?
Yeah, and the pictures of them that Dateline showed too, everything's blurry. It looks AI. I don't know. It is odd. And so this whole part was weird. I also, one of the other things too that she said was, like, when she got asked, like, what was your first thoughts?
Mhm.
And it wasn't like, oh, I was just like, I know it sounds bad to say that, but it's like, my first thought would be, thank God my daughter wasn't there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that I don't care about them, but it's like, that is luck, that is divine intervention, that is something. But thank God she was not there. Whatever stopped her from going there that night, unless it's involvement, you know what I mean? Like,
I was just so grateful my daughter was safe. You have no idea. Like, it's like a heart, like, the second I got the news that that's what was happening on campus, my heart dropped into my chest. It's like, it would be like a school shooting, you know, like, oh my God, you have to pick up your kid. There was a school shooting. We don't know who survived. All parents, could you imagine, like, that's like my worst fear in the entire world. Like, I think it's so scary. It's like one of the main reasons she goes to, like, a very small Catholic school, because I'm just, like, so fucking terrified of school shootings. And they have, like, super, super high security there, because they're also just like, and that was one of my big things. I was like, I want a school that has locks, then double bolts and automatic locks. You can't get in. Windows are, like, not going to be able to be shot through, shit like that. And I just think, like, that would be my first thought is, thank God she was okay.
yeah, thank God. And then this was also the part of the interview, I played this a couple weeks ago, where how she's like, her daughter moved away, and once the trial's over, that's when I think you're really going to be able to start to grieve the right way. And she's not sure if she'll ever come back home. I started thinking, like, okay, is your daughter, like, because she was in the house, like, is she now being protected? You know what I mean? Like, that was one of those things where I'm like, okay, so she wasn't there. You guys obviously know I entertain a possibility of WITSEC. I entertain, like, I'm not also saying that I don't entertain that they could have been killed. You know, I'm just saying, I don't think it's unrealistic to think that if something that brutal happens, to be protected and might go away for a little bit.
She needed to get away and regroup. She wanted to go somewhere where nobody knew who she was, didn't ask questions. She could make new friends, start a new life. Now, I know, like, nobody likes to be, and I've heard this from people, like, in other documentaries, where it's like they are always going to be the kids who survived Columbine, or the kids who the kids who survived 9/11, their parents died, right? Like stuff like that.
Right.
But I don't know. Like that's a weird, nobody knows you. If it were me, like I'm just saying this, okay? If it were me and these were my close friends, all I would want to do is be around the people who knew them, who knew me, who knew how close we were, who wrapped their arms around me and we celebrated football games together. We went to dances together. We partied together. I would want to be around my people 24/7 if that were me. Now, I'm not saying this because I've never experienced a tragedy probably this awful. I've experienced tragedy, but when I experience tragedy, I don't want to move away. And like my stepson died. I didn't say, you know what? I think I'm going to not be around family. I'm going to move away. This is hard for me. Now, I guess everybody experiences trauma differently, but that's weird. If I were that age, I would just want to be around the people who knew them and knew me.
Yeah. I think a lot of the families that have been interviewed seem a little weird. The spidey sense, as I say, goes off. It's not
the peripheral players, man. They all send off the wrong vibe to me.
Yeah. And you included article about DM.
This was in what year is this? 23. So it's like a year after.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a year after the anniversary. And instead of Dylan talking, because God forbid she says anything, except for what she doesn't say. And then her stepmom decides now's a good time to go to the New York Post and give some fluff.
Right.
Because they knew it. Because by the way, they knew what was coming up. Because those messages couldn't be hidden forever.
Even this second article is Patricia Monroe said Dylan Mortensen is doing quote unquote okay since Brian Koberger allegedly slaughtered Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. There's a lot of guilt because, if someone says, oh, well, Dylan was so lucky, you don't want to take on that luck because all of the children deserved luck. They all deserve to be spared from that.
Yeah, that would be nice coming from her.
Yeah. This picture is so weird too. And so many people are like, it's clearly static. And I go, that's half of the hair on her head. Can static do that? I thought it was just a couple strands. You rub a balloon to the top of your hair and it pull it up.
It kind of like goes like I can't do it close to the camera, but yeah.
It could be like the hand going up, hitting it. I don't know. But there's a lot of weird things about that photo if you want to go granular on it, but I won't. For reasons still unknown, she and Bethany Funk, the other roommate who survived the attacks, didn't call the police until around noon the following day. A year later, they still don't know. This is just one fact that social media trolls and citizen sleuths have latched onto in slamming Mortensen and Funk since the case gained worldwide attention last year. Well, in that same breath, it's the media that's pushed this case. The media hasn't gotten the answers either.
Let me tell you, if those fucksticks in MPD did a better job of being honest, of letting the press have their questions answered, of having the 911 call played from the fucking beginning, if they got some answers from these people in the beginning, then none of this would be as, highlighted, spotlighted, scrutinized, pulled apart, analyzed. If you guys didn't put them up front and say nothing to see here, close your fucking eyes, close your fucking ears, and don't ask any questions. And by the way, we'll get to it later. Then you come out with this horseshit and you got the fucking nerve to know that in those documents, what those stupid text messages say, and you want to say this with a straight face? Fuck off.
Sammy.
Sorry.
No, we should start we should start you an LLC where you start going to the
It's like
press
people want to
conferences.
be yelled at.
Yes.
Like, do you think I could make money? Like, dress down my husband.
Well,
Dress down my cunt of a wife. Sure, no problem. Anytime. $5 for a 2-minute insult. 10 for a 20.
I've seen people do that where it's like, you can
Mhm.
hire me and I'll come cuss out your boss. You know what I mean? Like I've seen businesses like that.
I just can't even.
I just, again, I always, when my ears perk up whenever I hear stuff like this, where it's like you never really think about the online backlash and trolls until you deal with it. It's just really a hurtful thing. Well, is it trolling?
Then don't go online. And if you're so hurtful, you seemed really hurtful partying right after the fact.
How about this? How about this right here? She continued, I challenge anyone to be in a position where they wake up to 4 of their roommates gone and, not even realizing it. Okay, hang on. But now we know she didn't wake up to it.
No.
So does this mean all of these trolls were actually right about how it's weird that they didn't call 911?
What did you say to stepmommy, Dylan? Did you tell stepmommy you just woke up? You were so confused. I was so drunk. I took a lot of Molly last night, stepmom. I was so fucked up. It was like a P. Diddy party at the fucking Idaho 4 college. And I just, I had a lot of GHB and Molly, and then I just have no idea. I just woke up and they're all dead. Oh, Dylan, I feel so bad for you. Is that what happened? Actually, no. I was texting everybody and their mothers. I had time for Yik Yak. I had time for TikTok. I had time for Instagram. I had time to edit videos. In fact, I had time to text everybody and their fucking mothers, including my father.
And look for a job on Indeed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah. So the quote continues, Sammy, this is one of the things that has really bothered me is people have to understand that these children are very young. No, a very young child is 3 or 4, 5, 6 years old. They're just young kids, and it's just really traumatizing thing. I just think that people need to have compassion. People do
Everybody has compassion for the dead kids, not you, Dylan. You didn't call the police.
Yes. And there needs to be space and time for all the details to come out in trial. Well, isn't that just a coincidental ending?
Oh, yeah. We waited for those details and we got some. And guess what? We found out it was worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've always
wonder if those tattoos are even real, or do you think they're like those Darien Lake tattoos that you get on, like, when you're a kid?
Water, like the water.
They have those like spray guns, and you're like begging your mom, can I spend extra $10 on the glitter?
Oh, like the henna ones or whatever.
Yeah, the henna ones.
Yeah, they're like kind of perm. They're like semi-permanent.
Semi-perm.
Yeah. Well, and I just, again, I'm sorry, but 19 years old is not young. There have been 19-year-olds that have won the Medal of Honor. Okay. Like,
so true.
I'm serious, guys.
It's so true.
I mean, like,
it's 19-year-olds.
I mean,
they're babies. Like, it's like fucking toddlers and tiaras. Like, shut up.
Yes, they're 19. They don't need to be coddled. And I'm sorry, but they're in a very adult situation where 4 of their friends were killed in the house that they lived in. It's time to grow up pretty quickly if you're a very young child. And if anybody missed what I said, I was saying, like, they're 19. They're not very young children. There's been people in this country that have won a Medal of Honor at 19 years old. There's been people who have gone to war and done things, men and women, at 19 years old. So
I lived on my own. I was out of the house. I was paying bills.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to, say that this isn't serious. It is, but it's just, I can't I can't get past when people tell me, well, you know, they're just drunk college girls. Well, I would ask you, if it was two men that were in the house, would they be getting the same? Well, they were just two drunk guys. I don't think they would be. And I don't think that's not meant to be a male versus female thing. I think it's all a media narrative thing. I think it's all a part of it. I've said that a couple times.
Oh, they were lucky they were female. They were lucky that those roommates were female, because this would be an entirely different press. This would be an entirely different narrative if those were two male roommates that did jack shit because they drank too much beer the night before and were texting and Snapchatting and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I wonder if those two, if they were males, do you think they would have been arrested or detained?
They would have been separated. How about that? Yeah. What the hell was that scene in the morning when you look at those pictures? Everybody's together. Everybody get their story straight. You know what's a good idea, MPD? Let's all put them in a hotel room together. And then, by the way, for the rest of the kids who had anything to do with the party at Sigma Chi or the grub truck, have a good Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families. Oh, you don't have to show up for school, and we'll get back to you on the interviews. You come to us if you got anything to say. We won't come to you.
Correct. And since we are taking it back to the beginning, the last article that we can really dive into that I think is a little bit lesser known is this Jeremy R. Now, this is one that I'd be curious how many people have remember this or have heard about it. Sorry, I'm trying to get this to fit on the screen here. So
I still can't believe that they locked down for a period of time, and then they said, no worries, everything's safe, targeted killing, changed the target, and told everybody to go home and have a happy Thanksgiving. Like, that is the wildest. Every kid that had anything to do with any of those kids that evening should have been detained. Or at least said, if we find out you left campus and we find you were in contact with any of these kids, we will be coming for you and knocking on your parents' fucking door in whatever state you live in. I mean, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, it is. It is insane. And I think the police chief, even himself, in that initial interview, he had said, I probably should have been up here a day or two ago. And it's like, yeah, you're now 4 days later. Yeah.
Barney Fife, you want to go and lock yourself in the jail cell with Gomer Pyle, and we'll just, whistle along to the Andy Griffith song. Like, oh my God, I can't.
I don't get it. And I think, like, watching it, everybody, whether you were there as a reporter or you were watching it live, you were kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a long time before the police chief makes a statement letting the public know they're safe. Really, like, that they shouldn't be worried. But then he gets up there and, he still says, we're not sure. We're not sure. But I can tell you that you just got to keep your head on a swivel. This is a community that polices itself. And we're taking all tips very serious, but none of you guys are in danger.
Guys, you know what? We're going to be putting up spotlights, motion lights. So don't you worry. Those dark corners of campus, now it'll be on full. No, we're not adding cameras, but we're going to put on some spotlights, motion light sensors in those dark crevices, and we'll send out more police. Even though there were police right in front of the fucking murder house that evening, just pulling over kids in the band field who were, I don't know, doing what exactly? Nothing.
Yeah. Well, see, that's one thing too, where I'm like,
they were right there.
See, it lines up. I read a screenshotted 4chan post, and people can say, well, it's 4chan or it's a Reddit rumor or whatever it is. Well, that timeline, it would line up with a lot of the noises that you hear, and it came out really early and then it got scrubbed. So it's like, when it lines up with the timeline, when you hear noises on the Linda Lane footage, and it lines up when you see people running behind the house, and it lines up when you have the band field going on, and then it lines up with it. Just I'm like, okay, there has to be truth to something or truth to some of it. Otherwise, why would they scrub it and take it down? I
And
never understood that.
why wouldn't the Linda Lane footage be in the state's case? Because it's the clearest audio we have of people coming and going so close to the house. Like,
They
if that
did.
was like, why wouldn't every single fraction of that video be FBI studied, analyzed? That would be the first thing you would look to. Like, oh my God, we have all these cameras that are right around here. I mean, what?
Yeah. Sammy, I can't even believe that I just read this first line of this article and look at what it says. Once someone is named a suspect or a person of interest, online vigilantes broadcast that person's guilt. Unfortunately, in most cases.
So that means we just get rid of them. Just that's what we do. Oh, the public pressure is on. So just say that they have nothing to do with it. Don't bring them back. Give me we took a Taco Bell receipt. Can you like go to McDonald's and give us a receipt? We'll be fine with that. Okay, good. You're cleared. You're cleared.
And look at how kind of fear mongering they are. In a way where they're like, unfortunately, in most cases, threats against that person begin, and in some cases, people are killed.
Oh,
okay.
So we're now
online vigilantes.
Oh, that's what we are, because we're doing the job of the literal addled press who is on life support, who has less curiosity than a fucking mute.
There's such a pattern. There's a pattern with the people that have come out and said that they were near them, saying they were meant to keep them safe. Every article has said that the online conspiracy theorists, and now even the last one that we read saying, how would you feel if you woke up and your 4 roommates were gone? Well, guess what? We ended up being right on that.
Yup.
So
don't you like how it's about us? Like this, they spent more articles and more ink and more typing and time talking about misinformation, disinformation, my 2 least favorite words, and this horseshit than they did about actually digging into any of the allegations. So what evidence, Chief Wiggum, do you have regarding how these people were cleared? What cleared them exactly? Can you tell us that? No. Okay, thanks.
Right. And quote unquote, I've had a lot of people online say this wouldn't have happened if you didn't do an interview. What did I say at the beginning of the stream? Who's letting these kids why wouldn't you get a lawyer? Or why wouldn't you think I'm just going to prepare a statement? I'm going to prepare a statement, and that's what I'm going to say. Instead of getting out there and just going off, like shooting from the hip, and you end up saying stuff. Well, in high profile cases, celebrities, politicians, sports, that's what happens when you go on national media and you say things, you get picked apart online. It's the truth of the matter.
Totally.
So here's a tweet. It says, I didn't do it. I have nothing to hide. I'm willing to give DNA if they need.
Okay.
So,
I mean, at least he was willing to do that. I wonder if they took him up on his offer.
What was it that got him? Was it really just this interview that?
I don't know.
Does it go on to say? It really just quotes.
I think it was just like a Reddit thread and like people.
Oh.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay. Well, if he's a neighbor and he had a stabbing attack where 9 were hurt. Wait.
Is that the same person? Oh, he grew his beard out. Oh, did he get rid of his tattoos?
Wait, I don't get it.
Is it the same person? Oh, they thought it was him. I get it. So there was some, I wonder, so I see what they're saying. They thought he was this guy.
Oh. Interesting.
So that sucks.
Okay, wait. Mr. Reagan, or Regan, however you say it, revealed that the police had contacted him. He was interviewed, but not required to give a DNA sample.
Who said, why are people saying I'm drunk?
Who is?
Somebody in the chat's like, she's drunk as a skunk. Like they don't know my personality.
Oh, I didn't think you were drunk.
Well, I don't think him.
So, okay. I want to. Do you want to watch that first press conference?
Yeah, I don't get why. I don't get why I mean, I guess like if you're genuinely not involved and then you're being accused of something, that has to be frustrating. But I would do what that kid said and get on there and say, yeah, take my DNA, do whatever you want. Did you hear any of the other people say, get my DNA? I didn't. I must have missed that.
Yeah. I must have missed it too. All right. Here we go.
Oh, the ads on YouTube have been so bad. I say this every time. I'm like, God damn, am I going to suck it up and just buy this stupid thing that makes me not have ads anymore for like 20, what is it, $23 a month or something?
Yeah. It's well, and it's like I feel like I buy enough systems, or I get not systems, whatever you want to call it, streaming stuff, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon. I'm like, I don't know if I need YouTube. So
I just don't need commercials. Like they've gotten so bad this last year that I'm like, they're really breaking me down.
Yeah. So let's listen to this.
Possible. So thank
Chat, you. Type a 1 if you can hear it quick, or somebody if you're currently live and you're not catching up, if you can hear this. Sammy, you can hear it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, is it still COVID protocols, right? Is that why they're all like every other chair?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking. And then we find out that was all horse shit. The 6 feet rule was totally made up.
Good afternoon. My name is Chief James Fry with the Moscow Police Department. Joining me today is Captain Roger Lanier with the Moscow Police Department, Moscow Deputy City Supervisor Tyler Palmer, Colonel Kedrick Wills of the Idaho State Police, University of Idaho President Scott Green, University of Idaho Dean of Students Blaine Eccles, and Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson. We are thankful for all the tips and leads the public has provided in Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, and Madison's murder investigation. No bit of information is too small, and every tip will be pursued. So far, this information has helped investigators build a picture of the areas of interest and the relationships these 4 had with each other and our community. We still believe there's more information to be gathered, which will continue creating a window through which we view this case. We all want to understand why this happened and what drove someone to do this. The families of those involved and our entire community deserve to know. We ask anyone with any information related to what happened with these 4 who are in our community, their interaction with others, and whether they expressed concern or commented about someone or something strange, to get that information to us. Even if you don't believe it is relevant, investigators will review and determine if and how your information builds the picture. Sometimes what a video or picture doesn't show is equally as important as what might be there. Information on how to submit tips.
Which is what
Which, so you are inviting people like me, people like you, people like anywhere from around the world to go and comb through that grub truck footage, go through that Linda Lane footage. You're inviting, say, you don't know what you may have found. So please submit everything. Tell us anything that you find weird, sus, whatever. We're trying to build a picture. And also, he says, we want to figure out what would cause someone, he's not using plurals yet, but someone to do this, meaning you want to know the motive. And the worst part about this is we still don't have one. We still don't have one. You can say it's because they're pretty. That's not true. So still no motives. The first press conference, and none of that is solved. And now we're all a bunch of conspiracy theorists, even though you're the one, mister, who invited everybody to submit that shit.
I actually don't know if this is the first one. It said 10 days after, and I believe that the first one was 4 days after. And I'm trying to remember because he had like some guys in suits standing behind him.
Who?
The police chief.
Oh,
This might be 4 days after.
What if recording?
I mean, it is different. It's just interesting. I wish that they have the date.
Ethan, Xana,
I don't know.
information as we can. Investigation. Detectives arrested 28-year-old.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I
Yeah.
really wanted to try to find the first one. Because the first one just kind of hits different. Like,
I just find it interesting too that I understand that it happened at the college. So it would make sense for the first one or something for the police chief and the college president to be up there. But if you're giving a law enforcement press conference, I do find it odd that Scott Green is there.
and why go into that?
Because he has enrollment was down. COVID really fucked that area. And little did we know there was some huge monetary deal going down with acquiring the University of Phoenix that he wanted to happen. And he needed this to be solved and locked up in a bow so that enrollment would rise. And there was a lot hanging in the balance for that guy. And I just find it a little strange how close he was to this whole thing. Not in a way, and especially when it came to the house, like wanting it knocked down, wanting to, he just seemed a lot overly involved, in my opinion, in ways that aren't helpful.
Yeah. You know, the one video that I did see this full thing on, I was watching it earlier, and it was our buddy Chambry. He had it.
Mm-hmm.
He had the full
More
one.
and more families.
Lawrence.
Here it is.
Oh,
And not one mentioned.
He goes on to say how there's no mention of the roommates until actually the reporters ask about the roommates. So
yes, this is so true.
Yep.
We know you have questions, and so do we. That is why we're here.
Yeah,
I'd
okay.
like to thank everyone for attending this press conference. Joining me today is the Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson, University of Idaho President Scott Green, Provost and Vice President Tori Lawrence, University of Idaho Dean of Students Blaine Eccles, Latah County Sheriff Richie Skiles, Chief Deputy of Latah County Tim Best, Idaho State Police Colonel Kedrick Wills. The Moscow Police Department would like to extend our condolences to all family members, friends, the University of Idaho, and the Moscow community. This was a horrible crime that took the lives of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves. This horrible crime has affected all of us.
You think before you start talking, you might want to ask the families how they pronounce their last names? I mean, you made sure that you talked the titles of all the people standing around you who don't answer shit in this. You made sure you got their names right. You made sure you got their titles right. But you don't bother to say, hey, by the way, Can you make sure I got the pronunciation of the fucking names of the dead kids right? You fucking embarrassment.
So I have a terribly long last name that's hard to pronounce. Whether you know, I've heard a ton of different ways. So it doesn't, I'm going to say it bothers me less because I've just like playing football or baseball growing up. You hear the opposing team's announcers, they just kind of, you know, jargon it out there. But in a position like this, I don't disagree. It's like it's like if you are a professional sports broadcaster, or if you're, you know,
it's four names. It's not 10. It's not 20. It's not a mass shooting. It's 4 names. You knew the title of every person standing next to you. You made sure that you showed that this is the deputy president of this, Latah County Sheriff that You couldn't just ask the pronunciation of 4 children's last names who just passed away. That's a sign of disrespect, in my opinion, and where your priorities are at. That's where your priorities are at. You didn't take the time to figure out what the pronunciation of those dead kids' last names were.
Yeah, 4 days to prep too. You know, I don't disagree in this position. Yeah, that's he forgets Ethan's name too in this, or has a very long pause before he says it.
Us, the families, the University of Idaho, our community, our country, and our officers. Agencies that are involved in this task force include Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. As we continue our investigation, we have learned that Ethan and Xana were at a party on campus, and Madison and Kaylee were at a downtown bar. They arrived home sometime after 1:45.
Monday CRM has the best AI features in the game.
Mrs. Birdie and I had the worst alarm ever go off during our wedding. It was the bang, 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 bang. It was like the nuclear alarm.
Whose
from
was
one of my
it?
It was one of my cousins too. I'm like, are you serious?
That's so terrible and funny. I just watched a wedding video. I watched a wedding video on TikTok. I don't know who it was, just randomly came through my feed, and they got married on this beautiful farm. It looked so pretty. It was like pasture, and this cow came up and they said, if anybody has anything to say, now speak. And the cow went, moo, like right at that part. So loud. I was laughing so hard. The whole wedding like erupted in laughter. They couldn't stop laughing.
I'm sure someone's like, that's good luck. See, that's good luck. The cow
I thought
moved.
it was just so funny. I was like, of course.
Yeah. That is hilarious. It's better than having like somebody playing golf that decides they're gonna go and chip out of your bridal party. I always see that and I'm like, I don't know how I'd react. I don't know if I'd be happy, but
that's funny.
Yeah.
Our community or across our nation has any information about these times or the victim's whereabouts, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. The facts of the case that we know right now. We know that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Around noon, Moscow officers received a call of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves inside the residence on King Road. The 4 were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time. There was no sign of forced entry into the residence. Investigators are continuing to collect evidence at the scene. Investigators are working to develop a timeline to relevant events. Autopsies are taking place today on all the victims so we can continue to gather evidence and solve the crime. Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details at the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community. And as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times. What we don't know, the identity and location of the suspect. The location of...
Was that a Freudian slip?
Yes. And okay, so Scott Green, it's whoever's closest to the speaker is of importance. Wouldn't you think that you would be surrounded by the investigators, the law enforcement officials handling the case, and the person closest to you wouldn't be the fucking president of the University of Idaho? I mean, just saying, I find that a little iffy. And I also do agree with you. That was a slip.
Yeah, it's just like the whole.
How did you know it's one too, by the way? Because in articles they were saying plural. That's a slip too. You don't know if it's just one person. I think he even concedes that.
Yeah. I think when he does get asked about it later, but that whole 30-second clip where he's like, right now we don't think there's a threat to the community, but stay vigilant. I'm just like, okay, because
we take this case very seriously. We're going to put one of our best detectives. He only has a couple years experience as a detective, but he was in the same airborne division as Brett Kopacka, who we shot. We'll be shooting him a couple weeks later, and don't worry, it is no connection.
Because how old was he at that time?
I don't remember.
26, 29, something like that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, younger though.
Of the knife or any clothing that was worn by the suspect. Currently, we have 25 plus investigators working this case, as well as assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Idaho State Police. We're reviewing video that has been collected, but we are asking citizens to contact us with any information you may have that will help in this investigation. Once again, we're asking anyone with to call the tip line at 208-883-7180. At this time, I would like to introduce the University of Idaho President, Scott Green.
Dun, 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 dun.
Thank you, Chief Fry. I'm Scott Green, president of the University of Idaho, and with me is Tori Lawrence. He's our provost, and Blaine Eccles, our dean of students, will be available for questions after all of the statements are made. The crime, to us, this crime and the loss of these young lives is just simply beyond comprehension. While our small community is certainly not immune to such things, it's not a situation our close-knit campus is used to dealing with. First, my deepest condolences to the families. And friends of Ethan, Kaylee, Zena, and Madison. Excuse me. Their loss has been devastating, and they were bright lights in our community and are deeply missed and remain in our thoughts and our prayers. We've been working with Moscow police since we were notified on Sunday of the crime.
I'm going to go fill up my water, so I'm just going to play it, and then I'll be right back.
Okay.
We've helped when asked and continually push for information whenever possible. Knowing that we cannot interfere with the important work and good investigations that are occurring.
Okay.
We just want justice for these victims. Our focus at the university is to support our students and our employees. We are encouraging students and employees to take care of themselves as we head into Thanksgiving break. I want to take a moment to commend our faculty and staff who have been on the front lines helping our students, whether that is providing counseling to those in need of support, accommodating those who want to travel home, or engaging those who find comfort in staying busy interacting with their peers and our instructors in class. Our employees stepped up when our students needed them. While we have relied heavily On the expertise of Moscow police, we feel confident that remaining open with flexibility to leave allows our students to decide what is best for them. The weeks ahead will continue to challenge us as this loss and the circumstances around this crime become known. We will support each other as we grieve, and we'll move through this together as a Vandal family. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Today's field communications are
I love it. I love it. We're going to support the students, whatever we need. You guys go home, leave. Don't say anything. Bye. Also, I wonder how fast he put the permits to get rid of the house.
People said that he lived there.
Yeah, at one point when he was young, but he doesn't remember. I think his parents own the house or something like that. But I find it so fascinating that he was so on top of getting rid of that house. Like it was a bad memory. And we're going to do anything we can to help the police, including sending all of the people home. I mean, what?
Yeah. I agree. I agree. It's like, oh, we're going to go through a very strict vetting process to make sure we don't miss anything. Therefore, winter break is delayed for a week.
We love our Vandal community. Everybody go home for Thanksgiving, and we're going to help you, law enforcement, with this investigation. Enjoy your vacation, everybody.
Yep.
So at this time, I'm going to open it up to some questions.
This is where
I'm sure you have, and we'll do the best we can to answer those for you.
Hello, Chief Ray.
Hello.
Thank you for having us. I'm Amanda Rowley with Creme 2 News. You mentioned that there's an indication that it's an isolated, targeted incident, and there is an individual somewhere. Can you give us a reason as to why there's that belief there is a suspect? Can you also give a little more information on the forced entry? There's no sign of forced entry, but was the door, did it seem like any of the entries were left unlocked by any means?
I'll answer the last part there just because it's at the front end of my mind. We're not 100% sure if the door was unlocked, but there was no damage to anything, and the door was still open when we got there.
Okay.
And my first question.
Yeah.
So the door was unlocked, dipshit. The door was open when we got there. There's no sign of forced entry. So the answer to the question is the door was unlocked.
Right. But if it, I think what he meant is the door was open.
Well, duh. Because when we got,
was that misunderstanding? Like what you meant? I thought you meant like open.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like he doesn't want to say that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It seems like he doesn't want to say that. By the way, when we got there, the door was wide the fuck open.
Right.
If you'd like me to read.
No, I think I haven't. In these cases, we take the totality of the things that we see, and they're very dynamic, right? And they're very big, and there's a lot of information, and we try to take that information, and some of it we can't share with you, correct? But we try to take that information, we try to make the best educated decision we can. We review that as a team with our detectives, along with our prosecutors, along with the university, and we try to make that best decision on that. So we, at that time, believe that there was no a threat, and our goal is to provide safety for this community. That's why we're bringing in the resources we're bringing. We want a close to this, and we want to do everything we can to let the people in our community know that we care. We want them to feel safe. We want them to be safe, and we're going to do everything we can to do that.
Okay. One more question.
Words. This is a word salad. I'm going to put as many words as I can together to give the veneer of safe. So we're going to say, we want you to feel safe. We're doing things like partnership, teams. We're going to use some sort of law enforcement and emotional words to make you feel better about the situation. But in reality, we have no fucking idea what happened. And we can't say that. So we're just going to put a bunch of word salad together, and then we're going to tell you to feel better.
Right.
And you should just feel better because I strung these words together and I mixed them up in a bowl and I threw them back at you. And you should feel better about that. You feel good? You feel safe? Good. Great. Enjoy that salad.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. And just wait until some of these questions continue. It's just an interesting progression, I guess you could say, of how the answers start to get.
You asked for videos or anything from the community to help put together that timeline. We obtained a copy of Twitch video, and family members of the Gonsalves family were able to identify Maddie and Kaylee in those videos at a food truck ordering food. Is the police department, our investigators, aware of that video, and has it helped put together that timeline?
We are aware of that video, and it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that two of our victims were, and that helps us a ton, and we'll continue to follow up all leads that we can and continue to gather those.
Any indication of a party at the home that night?
And this will be the last one. Okay, I understand. Not that we know of, not at the home. We know that the other, let me get the names exactly right here. We know that Zaina and Ethan were at a different party on campus. But that timeline will still help us if other people know about that.
Thank you.
That I understand nerves. Like you said, though, there's 4 names. It's the biggest case ever. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like just go in on how he should know. I think we did that, but it's just not a good look. You know what I mean?
It's a horrible look.
Yeah.
Chief Wright, John Webb with KHQ. On September 12th, there was a vandal alert that was sent out about a potential stabbing threat on Paradise Path. Does this have any connection with what we've seen so far?
Not that we know of it, but we're following up every lead. Every piece of information we get, we are following up to ensure that nothing has gone unturned. We want to have the individual identified, who is the suspect of this eventually. So we are literally looking into every aspect of everything.
And you guys have said repeatedly that there's no threat to the public, but we don't know who the suspect is. We don't know where he's at. How is there no threat to the public at this point?
Well, that's kind of an unknown. Like I said, we took the information that we had at the time, but we do need to be aware the individual is still out there, right? We need to be vigilant. We need to watch out for.
What? We took the information we had at the time. So what information? I just walked upon an open door and 4 kids homicided to death on multiple floors, blood pouring out of the house, 2 roommates. What are you talking about? That at the information we had at the time, the community was safe? When? Right. Did you have to run that through Scott Green? That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if Scott Green said, you better fucking say it was safe, or you and I are going to have a problem. And next election, you're going to be out on your ass without a retirement. I'll make sure of it.
Well, I also wonder, too, you asked about, like, how are they so sure that they have a suspect? How are they so sure that it's only one? Like, again, college kids, 4 of them by knife. I don't think it's unrealistic to think that one person maybe didn't do it, and it could have been 2 or 3 or 4.
Well, here's the weird thing about Fry versus Aaron Snell. Snell was the public relations guy initially in this case, and Aaron Snell was always very careful to use suspect or suspects, person or persons. Now, just so happens that they got rid of him, or he retired or got off the case or whatever sooner than Chief Fry. But Aaron Snell initially, always when he was talking to the press, used plurals until Brian was,
Yep, I agree.
For our neighbors, we're a community policing community. We've said that for years, and it's a community that watches out for each other. We need to continue to do that until we can close this off and make an arrest.
Why has there been such limited information over the past couple of days? I mean, we're almost 4 days into this. Why has it been so limited?
It's a difficult, we have a lot of information coming in, and, we have tried to push out some information through press releases. But the reality is, I probably should have been standing here a day or so ago, but I'm here now. We're going to continue to be here. We're going to continue to give you the information we can. We care about this community. I care about this community. I've worked here for 27 years. I want this community to be the safest community around. So
the mayor's called it a crime of passion. Is there any indication that that's true?
We're looking into every aspect of this. I'm not going to stipulate whether it's one thing or another. We're going to continue to investigate until we have the facts, because really it's the facts that will drive what the cause of this is. And as we gather evidence, we'll get that. So. Okay.
One last question, if I could, Chief. Have we looked at any boyfriends or any ex-boyfriends, any spouses as a potential suspect?
I will tell you, we are looking at everyone. Every tip we get, every lead we get, there's no one that we're not going to talk to. There's no one we're not going to interview. There's no one that we're not going to look into. And we're going to do our due diligence. We're going to make sure that nothing goes unturned. We do everything we can with the assistance of all the resources we have to get a final answer.
Thanks, Chief Fry.
Okay.
Let's welcome our new.
So not many people have seen that initial one. I mean, since then, it's hard to find. A lot of that stuff is hard to find.
Hard to, but it's also hard. I understand the initial one and you don't know much. So of course you're going to say, we're going to look at every avenue. I mean, that just makes sense. But the fact is that all this time later, his initial statements are, we want to find out who did this and why. And there is no why. There's no why. There's no connection. And I don't think they turned over every rock. And I think that they cleared people way too quickly. Like we said, especially after the timeline changed for when they thought this happened. And I just am baffled. And so I think Ann Taylor, whatever she submitted that is sealed, I am praying to God, Hippler is now pissed off enough with the prosecution for these leaks that he's going to take a harder look at what she has and say, okay.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you brought it up, or Phoenix, one of the two. One of you guys brought it up about how his demeanor that day right after the leaks was just different. It was different.
Judges don't like, I don't care if judges are more always, because they deal with prosecutors. Now, Bill Thompson doesn't normally deal with Hippler because he's from Ada County. And obviously, Bill Thompson is just, the grand dame of Leetah County. So that's where his reputation lies with judges. But they're always a little bit more biased towards prosecutors for some reason. That's just the way they are. But they don't like having their orders flouted. Judges are it doesn't matter what side you're on. They say something, you disobey it. They look at that as a personal insult.
Let me ask you this, and to the Hive Mind, if you guys want to leave this in the comment, if you're watching this after the stream or if you're in here right now, as I ask SammyTMafia this, I guess maybe actually don't start typing people's names in there. I was going to ask you guys to speculate. Who do you think they're going to be? Who do you think the alternate perpetrators are going to be? Who do you think got named? Somebody we'd expect, or do you think it's going to be way different?
Oh, I think it has something to do with that Tyson Farley kid, because the ICU Farley, I think it has something. I think it has something to do with drug running. So anybody in that area that's running drugs. And I think maybe the frats were attached to it and helping that. I think even they possibly were attached to it. Not all of them, but maybe some of their parents were users and confidential informants for cases that got people higher up in trouble who are violent.
Do you think the roommates will be implicated in any way?
Oh, It's going to be interesting. I wish we could see their faces on cross-examination. Unfortunately, they're being painted as victims, which I think is something a jury should decide. I don't like that they took that out of the jury's hands. That is a question for the jury to decide if those two surviving roommates are victims based on the text messages, based on the hearsay, based on everything we've seen and their actions. I think that's a question for the jury to decide if Dylan and Bethany are victims. The fact that it's taken out of their hands is not right.
So, no visual of the people testifying, or no visual of the survivors, and that's where I could put my tinfoil hat on. It's like, how do you know, right? If it's them, if they're not going to be shown, that's not again. That's a tinfoil hat. I guess that's my tinfoil hat little aspect of it. But also, if they have the guy that did this, and it was a single person, what are they in danger of then for showing their faces? Help me understand why that would be the case. I don't get it.
And help me understand, how's it going to go? Dylan, can you point to the person who committed these crimes? Is he sitting in this room? Because you can't. Because you didn't. You came face to face with him. Look at that hallway space. You want to say on your third interview when you said bushy eyebrows, you couldn't pick him up out of a lineup. You're going to sit right across from him with a straight face. And Ann Taylor asks, can you pick out the person who committed these crimes? She's not going to say yes because she can't say yes. And if she says yes, I want to see her fucking face when she does that. It is wrong. It is wrong for them to put that question out of the jury's hands and make them a victim. That is for the public and the jury to decide if they are or not.
Well, did you notice too, I believe in that interview was when there was like the police chief was talking. Did he say, he's like, I did not say that there were witnesses? Right?
He said, I did not say, well, they said they weren't cleared yet. And then the public got really ramped up that weekend. He said, are you saying they're witnesses? And he said, I'm not saying they're witnesses. I'm not saying they're victims. And then the public got so on their ass. So what are they? Because we know there's a time delay. They didn't release the 911 call, which caused a lot of speculation. So after that press conference, I think it was within 2 days, they cleared the roommates and suddenly they were victims. They were victims without a shred of evidence posted, without a single document of their text messages and behavior that night. We just had the PCA narrative. We didn't even have the 911 phone call. Think about how disgusting that is. That they made us think a certain way about these two for so long.
Yeah. And then we get flamed for it by Daily Mail, New York Post, New York Times, like every mainstream media for being online vigilantes.
It's really despicable. So I don't know, but anyways, those are some peripheral players.
No, I think that was really good. I think that I think it was good. It helped shed light on it. It kind of ties into the whole alternate perpetrators. And Sammy, if you have any closing thoughts, thank you again for popping up tonight. I go live every weeknight at 7 p.m. CST. I have Phoenix on regularly. Sammy comes on Thursdays. Devil's Advocate and I will be back on YouTube on Monday. I'm going to slowly start making that transition. I really don't want to lose the profile on TikTok, chat. It's gotten so bad for reporting. People are reporting my book and people are reporting.
Somebody I used to have this, I know this is so stupid, but people who I was friends with on TikTok before this crime, because I used to make fun of Hilaria Baldwin. Don't ask, but that's how they knew me. Okay. And they said they can't comment on my stuff and they're getting flagged because they're getting warnings that I'm dangerous to TikTok. I'm some sort of warning if they comment on my stuff now. And I'm ever since I started doing these lives with you. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I'm getting flagged or I'm getting warned. I'm like, wait, why?
Yeah. So yeah, I have so much to say about it. I don't want to bore anybody with a crash out on
I know.
the social media folks, and it is what it is. So I'm not going to be on stream tomorrow night. So a couple announcements. I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow night. Mrs. Birdie and I, we are going to be out of town for the weekend.
Ooh,
and
fun.
yeah, we're excited because we didn't get to go anywhere for Memorial Day weekend. So we're going this weekend. And so I will be back most likely Sunday night. But if not Sunday night, my regularly scheduled 7 p.m. Central. Hive Mind, shout out to you guys in the chat. If you are over here from the TikTok Hive Mind, thank you for kind of transitioning over to YouTube. Not to say that I won't be on TikTok. I just got to let it die down for 96 hours. So with that being said, Sammy, thank you so much. It's always fun.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it too. It's always a good time. And don't forget, Mrs. Birdie's got some hoodies up on birdiebombshell.com. We got some bumper stickers, some coffee mugs, some tumblers that are coming soon. birdiebombshell00@gmail.com. And if you don't subscribe, please do. I had to get a new channel May 1. So I am now going to be uploading all of the lives from TikTok to YouTube. So if you miss one on here, because I'm over on TikTok, you can at least watch the full stream after the fact. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a great night. Sammy, thank you again.
Bye,
Cheers,
guys.
everybody.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.